Hello, my name is Savannah. If you are new here, I wanted to do a week of vegan breakfasts video. Stuff that's easy for students who are in college, university, just because I've been vegan for, I want to say, 6 years nearly. I have gotten the hang of combining things which I think are pretty nutritious and tasty, but are also really cheap, because obviously being a student, you're not going to want to spend a ton of money on ingredients. Some of the breakfasts that I'm going to show are maybe more typical, but I kind of try and play around with the flavors so that they're a bit more original than any other recipe. So hopefully you enjoy, and if you do, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Today I think I'm gonna make oats. It's very basic, but I make my oats in the microwave, which is obviously much easier and faster than in like on a pot on a stove. And I like to play around with my flavors quite a bit. I'm gonna add peanut butter, banana, and strawberries because it's sort of like a peanut butter and jam, but the kind of healthier version, I guess. But I would highly recommend that based on where you are from and which fruits are in season, that you take those and that you make flavor combinations with what you have available. And I always have peanut butter. It's a really good source of protein, so if you are trying out veganism, make sure that you're using a variety of foods, and also that you're eating protein, and that means nuts, legumes, or tofu, like anything soy based. That's all very necessary if you don't want to be hungry. And since breakfasts are the first meal of the day, it is very important that you fill yourself up so that you're concentrated in class and that your day goes smoothly. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it. It's pretty self-explanatory, but typically I'll put in about 1/3 of a cup to 1/2 of a cup of oats into a ceramic bowl. And I'll usually add some chia seeds, maybe hemp seeds or flax seeds, depending on what I have. And then I'll have a banana. That just adds some sweetness to the oats, and I'll cut 1/2 of it and mash that directly into the mixture, and the other 1/2 I'll use for decoration on the top. So I make sure to mix that up pretty well, and then here I added some vanilla almond milk. The amount I put in is just based on my personal preference. If you like your oats to be thicker and drier, then don't put as much. And I'll pop that into the microwave for about 2 minutes usually. I also melted some frozen strawberries and put some peanut butter on top. This is super simple, really easy. I think I eat it almost every day in San Francisco. So the next day I made some vegan yogurt. The base of it is tofu. And I'll just cut that up into 2, and I'll usually use 1/2 of the block. I'll pop that into my little magic bullet, and I'll throw in some vanilla. And then the fruits you choose are completely up to you. On this day I had pineapple and strawberry. Frozen is better because that'll make the yogurt cold, so you can eat it pretty much right away. And then if you think it's going to be a little bit too thick, I know that this tofu is quite dense and the frozen fruits are pretty hard to blend with this little blender. I added that same almond milk I used in yesterday's breakfast as well. And it's quite hard to blend it in this little bullet, but I just shake it up and try again until it looks all nice and smooth. I'll put that into a bowl and spread it out. I sometimes make larger batches, and I'll keep that in the fridge for up to like 4 or 5 days. And here I just put some melted frozen strawberries on top.
added some banana, granolas, and a little bit of coconut shreds.
Would you like to come and try it? I like we're not ruining it. Yeah? Good, right?
On this day, I made some vegan scramble. I started off with that same tofu I used in yesterday's breakfast, and I crumbled that up into a pot. I think it is better if you have a pan, but residence hall supplies are low. And then I put a mixture of spices into a little bowl, mixed up with some water or almond milk. And if you have soy cream, that's even better. This mixture is mostly composed of nutritional yeast and then a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of pepper, some salt, maybe some nutmeg, coriander, anything really. It's kind of up to you what flavors you like. I was listening to a podcast on this day by Jada Jones. That's usually what I do when I cook in the kitchen. I just started the heat on medium. I put the mixture into the tofu. I mixed it up, and I also added some frozen kale that I had. I let that cook for a while, and it will get much more yellow or like orangey, more egg-like after it simmers for a bit. Put that in a plate, placed a little piece of toast, some avocado, some sriracha on top, and some sunflower seeds. Honestly, not much can beat this. On this day, I made a sweet potato bowl. So this potato wasn't looking really good, so I just picked off some of the old parts of it and then I stabbed it, essentially. I have a really easy way to cook sweet potatoes that I actually learned at boarding school, which is to just put it in the microwave. If you have enough like punctures inside of it, you can put it in the microwave for between, I'd say, 6 to 10 minutes, depending on how big your potato is, and it will cook really nicely. Also, in the meantime, I cut up some dried apricot. I also set aside some dried raisins and walnut. And then once it was ready, I cut my sweet potato open, I mashed it up and scooped all of that into my bowl. And now this part was a little bit trial and error, so I threw in some almond milk, mixed it up. I thought the texture was a bit too thick, so I wanted it to be a little bit more runny. And I put some pumpkin pie spice. I think you could honestly put just like cinnamon, maybe nutmeg, if you wanted to. And then I placed all my toppings on top. And I threw on some organic tahini.
It's really good. I think I could put maple syrup on it. This is surprisingly really good. I just remembered that I haven't taken my B12 today. Or yesterday, actually. So, cheers.
Good morning. On this day, I made avocado toast. Pretty typical for anyone living in California. Avocados here are really amazing, so I made the most of it while I was there. I got this bread from a bakery called Acme Bread. It has truly incredible bread, so I just bought a little one. I toasted it. And I cut up some tomatoes into little round slices. I also decided to show you guys 2 ways that I like to place my avocado on the bread. It sounds a little bit ridiculous, but one way is to just make really thin slices and arrange it super nicely on the bread. Obviously this looks a little bit more aesthetic, and that's all nice, but the more practical way is just to mush the avocado. I feel like you can eat it with a little bit less mess when you do it like that. Then I threw on some nutritional yeast, and I placed my tomatoes, I salted it, put some pepper, and of course I put on my trusty old sriracha. And this was a bit weird, I put on some like Triscuit remains, like, you know, those little crackers. I put on the rest. I thought the flavor would be nice, and I threw on some sunflower seeds. I enjoyed this while watching, I don't actually remember what I was watching. I think it might have been Star Trek. I added a bit more nutritional yeast because it's just too good. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.